It is so early. I have been getting up on here and doing videos with you guys of late, so early in the morning. It is actually insane. I'm not really much of a morning kind of person. I love the nighttime. I love the nighttime. And for those who don't know my channel, welcome. Hopefully it's less than 100 degrees today. I don't know. I'm hoping. But I know last time I looked at the clock, it was 8 o'clock. Last time I checked my phone. And truth be told, I'm going to tell you guys up front, this video is going to be a combination of topics, a combination of things. So I hope you guys are ready, okay? By no means is this going to be just a straight up astrology or straight up love relationship or straight up, one topic video. This video may come across as a rant of some kind. We'll find out. But I just really wanted to talk about things that I think the collective or most people are going through and put my spin on it. So if you're here for that, thank you for tuning in. I hope that this video can give somebody clarity. Like a lot of the information out here is giving me clarity. Should I turn off this fan or should I keep this fan on because it's weird? Like the weather is weird and I don't want to be sneezing in this video. I want to be focused. So I think I'm going to turn off the fan. Yeah. Because I don't... Oh, wrong button. Yeah, because that fan was blowing on me real hard, honey. Whoo! Okay. Make some space. So, I don't know about y'all, but for me, I feel like this Venus retrograde feels a little bit like a mini Saturn return. Now, I'm not an astrologer by any means. I've not trained in being a professional astrologer. So those who are astrologers, like professionally, I'm sure they could tell me what's going on. I'm just saying intuitively how I feel and just the energy, at least for me, this kind of feels like a pre-Saturn return. Yeah, it really does feel like a pre-Saturn return because everything is so intense and so beautiful, but so in your face. And I feel like, at least for me and the collective, or maybe just me, I don't know, there's been just a lot of energy of like do or do or die. Oh, it is early, honey. My throat just went, ooh. Let me clear my throat, y'all. It is early. I don't like the mornings at all, so ugh. But yeah, so a lot of themes of, well, the way that the Venus retrograde has been feeling for me is a lot of themes. It kind of feels like a pre-Saturn return. It very well could be for me. It could be for a lot of you. Okay, just putting that out here. But not just that, I felt this intense theme throughout the Venus retrograde of like do or die and put up or shut up. And either you're gonna get this right here in line and get this together and do this and this and this and this and this, or you're not. It's like put up or shut up. And I feel like the Venus retrograde has forced me to look at things for what they are and not what I want them to be. So, Venus is typically about love and care and cultivation of things that you care about. So, from that angle, that's how I'm taking it. The typical, they're saying like divorces, skyrocketing, breakups, skyrocketing is very generic to me. Like, I don't see the retrograde like that at all. That's not how the retrograde's been for me. That's not what I choose to focus the retrograde energy upon. I'm choosing to focus the retrograde energy where it actually matters, and not to sound like shady, but like, you know, especially romantic relationships don't really matter to a certain extent because they're very fleeting, very fragile. One thing goes wrong and boop, the marriage is over, the relationship is over. So, at least for me, I've never viewed Venus or the Venus retrograde as just about love. I feel like that's very generic. So, I've really used this energy more so about things that I think matter, no tea, no shade. And things that I think that matter is what is important to yourself. So for me, what's important to me is what makes me happy, what makes me feel fulfilled, what is going to set me up for the best future possible, you know? Um, and that's the retrograde that I've been having. So I hope that people out here have not been having just a generic retrograde because, truth be told, breakups and divorces can happen any retrograde, right? Not just Venus retrograde. I don't think that Venus retrograde should get the brunt of, um, you know, the slogan of, breakups, because breakups can happen at any time. It just, if it happens to happen during the Venus retrograde, that sucks. But I think there's a bigger importance at hand than just romantic relationships. Like, that's just, to me, is stupid. So I want to get that out the way because that's just what what I guess the media focuses on, but that's not really all there is to the retrograde. Not at all. Not at all. So I'm going to just draw inspiration from my experience, and hopefully you all can get something out of it. I don't know all of you, and I don't know all of you guys individually. I wish I did. I don't know you guys' chart individually. I don't know where you guys are at in life. So I'm just kind of talking to the choir here without really knowing the choir, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm just talking to you guys like I would talk to anybody, and hopefully, you know, you guys can get something out of it. So I think it's good to share, what you're going through. So I'll share what this, especially this retrograde in 2023, from July onward. I'll just start and talk about how it's been for me, what I think it's going to teach a lot of people, and, some of the important key components that we can, use. So for me, I feel like the Venus retrograde has been something that I needed. I've not been afraid of the retrograde. I welcome it. I've welcomed the Venus retrograde a lot wider and bigger and stronger than any Mercury retrograde in my life. Whenever I hear the word Mercury retrograde, I'm like, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. But then when I heard that we had a major, and we still have it, and we're in it right now, um, Venus retrograde, I was quite intrigued. I was intrigued by it. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, if I can say so myself, there's a loud plane. Let me just wait till this plane passes. I don't know if you guys can hear it. There's like this loud plane. It's the morning, y'all. That's why I don't like the mornings. But if I could say so myself, I genuinely feel like the retrograde has been a complete 360. The retrograde has been a complete 360. It is not taking its foot off the gas. It is not letting me be delusional. It's not even about relationships for me. It's about like, what do you want your life to look like? You know, and I hope y'all, like I said, I hope y'all can take something from it. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying. But for me, it's just all been about setting yourself up for the future. So I don't know if the Venus retrograde is supposed to do that, but for me, it's literally just about what are you unhappy with? Like my whole experience so far this year has been like, what are you unhappy with? What do you want to take out of your life? What are some habits or experiences or things that either you want to subtract from your life or add to your life? That's been my experience. Um, so it's just been a time of like, put up or shut up, you know? Um, are you gonna keep accepting and dwelling and living in something, um, and doing things or whatever that have an expiration date, basically? Like, these are things or concepts or beliefs, even belief systems or ideals that don't resonate on a soul level with where you're trying to go in life. Okay. So I don't know if the Venus retrograde is supposed to trigger that. Maybe it's just my placements. I think it is. I think it could be my placements, or, you know, a combination of my placements in my chart and my age. You know what I'm saying? Like being in my 20s, you know, trying to make the most of my 20s while I'm still in it. So I think that's kind of like where it's coming from. And I just think that once the Venus retrograde energy kicked off, is where things shifted into perspective. You know, I don't recall the Mercury retrograde doing that for me. I don't recall the Pluto retrograde doing that for me. But something about the Venus retrograde, at least for me, and hopefully you all can relate once again, um, it's like it's almost like when somebody goes to the eye doctor and they're in front of that machine, you know, and they're adjusting the lens and they ask you, can you see now? What do you see now? Like, that's what it's done for me. It's like, what do you see? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you see? What do you like or love? Venus energy. What do you like or love about your life? You know, your everyday life. Some, yes, your interpersonal relationships, but for me, not so much. I don't really feel there's nothing really in my interpersonal relationships that I need to work on. Like, I don't have an issue, so that's non-existent. It's more so of like, for myself, you know, for my self-improvement and for my future plans. So yeah, the Venus retrograde has been a complete 360. It's forced me to get out of my comfort zone, and you know, now we are in Leo season. So, and I think that this Venus retrograde is in Leo, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I'm not a professional astrologer, nor did I say I want to be one. Okay, but if I happen to be one day, then that's why, that's because I'm supposed to be one. But yeah, no, like, from what I know, if I'm not mistaken, the Venus retrograde is in Leo, correct? At least for a short amount of time. But we are in Leo season right now, so there's no hiding from it. We're in Leo season right now. So yes, it's definitely this energy of like being bold. Yes, being bold enough to look at um what you're doing, being bold enough to ask yourself the really tough questions. So this is what the Venus retrograde has done for me. Um, and it's just been an experience of having to really like look at things for how they are and not for what you know, want them to be. Because when you look at things for what they are, not what you want them to be, then you're able to treat it differently. Whether it's a person or a situation, it's like at that point, you're able to see it from a more clear perspective and treat it accordingly. Versus if you had rose tinted glasses and, the rose tinted glasses, my throat's a little dry. The rose tinted glasses are just not helping you make tough decisions, like at all. So I have been using the Venus retrograde energy to propel me in areas that I feel needed a lot more work. So that's just a tip that, or just something that I could tell you all about, just update you all about is, especially if you're not really into dating right now or you're not really having any relationship issues, you don't have to use this retrograde just for relationships. Like I said, that's very basic to me. Like that's like the most basic thing ever, like to me. But let's say, that is a priority for you. A priority that you have is, maybe you are having marital issues. I don't know, you know. So maybe, you want to use this retrograde to sort out communication issues with your partner or, financial stipulation with your partner. Then in that case, you would use this energy to heal your marriage if you're having marital issues. That's kind of how I'm seeing the energy. It's like, okay, it goes beyond just the surface. If you let the energy do its work and you're working with the energy and not against the energy, it's going to illuminate the things in your life that need a lot of work. So for me, like I said, being in my 20s, you know what I'm saying? So many um, options in life, so many things I could do, so many places I could live. There's just so many things, swirling literally like in my head, like making me dizzy, making me restless. And that's another thing that I can attest to that I did not experience in a Mercury retrograde is the sleep schedule is horrible. That is true. The sleep has been like you have to force yourself to sleep. I've never had that issue. So yeah, that is something that I've seen on social media. And in the beginning of the Venus retrograde, I was unaffected. I could not relate until it really picked up steam with the new moon and the full moon energy. And once that baby was rolling, oh boy, I felt it. It's been, it has been, there's been spots of it where it's like the sleep schedule is just not there. So with that, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of forced me to relook at my bedtime habits, and what things in my environment, or more specifically, my bed, that's going to help me fall asleep quicker. When we have all this strong energy out here with the planets, you still have to put in work and how to make yourself feel better. You know what I'm saying? Like the retrograde's going to be here for quite some time. So you really can't like, as far as I knowledge, you really can't escape the energy. Either, like I said, you either have to work with it and let it do its work and show you um, potential problematic thinking, beliefs, or areas in your life that seem stagnant or don't seem to be what you want it to be. And you have to be open to making some changes. You have to be open to letting the energy show you what you could do better, and not in beating yourself up, because I think beating yourself up is such an easy thing to do. Especially with the Mercury retrograde, just kind of drawing parallels between the two. Like the Mercury retrograde with all the miscommunications and people being petty, it's very easy. Like that retrograde is kind of is easier, I think, to like be really hard on yourself. But I think with the Venus energy represents stereotypically love and softness and grace and, Venetian energy. It could be used. I am using the energy to soften that. So even though retrogrades are typically more of a harsh period in time, it's like I'm still using the positive aspects of whatever planet um, is in retrograde to my best ability. So especially with the Venus energy, I think the Venus energy, if you want to make major changes over time, this is a good energy to begin to really dive deep in, because it's not as harsh as Mercury. Like the Mercury retrograde is a very harsh energy that causes a lot of miscommunication. Whereas with the Venus retrograde, especially in this sign of Leo, it is bold, it is in people's face. It's like they can't escape the truth at this point. You know what I'm saying? So you have to look at it from a perspective of, put up or shut up, and but with love, like tough love, so the Venus retrograde for me has been a very yeah, I wouldn't use the word tough because it doesn't feel tough to me, like how the Mercury feels. But yes, it is still an energy that kind of holds your feet to the fire and says, are you happy? At least in my experience, it's like asking you, are you happy? Um, are you okay with this, this, and this? Is there something that, you're yearning to do or change that you've not really um, implemented yet? And so, with the help of the Venus energy, how can you implement those things in your life effectively? How can you use the energy effectively to make changes that, like I said, when the retrograde is over, is going to benefit you and not hurt you and not make you regret and not make you sit there and cry and say, oh my God, what did I do? It's supposed to help you. So yeah, I can't say the same for Mercury, because Mercury is never really that kind of energy that feels very loving to me. But I feel like the Venus retrograde is loving. It's a loving teacher. Ooh, it's a loving teacher. And not just that, the Venus energy is like I would say angelic energy, but yeah, it's very angelic. It's very insightful, and dreams, if you're prone to dreaming, if you are into meditation, this is a very good time to step up that as well. Not that I've wanted to dream, but for some reason with the Venus retrograde, I have dreamed sometimes 3, 4, 5 days in a row, where normally I am not dreaming 3, 4, 5 days in a row. And for some reason with this Venus retrograde, there could be an influx in dreams. Okay, so if you find yourself dreaming more in this Venus retrograde, what you could do is get a journal or a little book. Like I have a ton of little books on this desk right over here. Writing down symbolism, writing down things that stick out to you, and then research it. You can't be lazy with this stuff. Obviously, you have to put some, energy into it, some work into it. So yeah, and if you're not dreaming, then if you're having like a meditation session, while you're meditating, uh, watch how your body feels, connect more with your body and be more gentle to your body. There could be a lot of people that could benefit from more self-care. Maybe it's a time where there are certain things about how your body is treated or how you feel in your body that maybe before the Venus retrograde you weren't aware needed some more attention. So this is how it's been helpful to me, is just kind of like, you know, and and what's so interesting is the Venus energy, the Venus energy is kind of slow, if I could say that. Like it feels to me like more smooth, more slow than Mercury, for me at least. And so while it's slowly working and it's activating and you're using it to your advantage, you're also being more proactive. Like you're more proactive because you're more sure of what you're feeling. You're more sure through, like I said, through dreams, through visualization, through meditation, whatever works for you. But this is just what works for me. Um, it's easier to come to a conclusion. Whereas, at least before the retrograde, I didn't really feel that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. And like I said, depending upon your chart, there could be things in your chart that maybe, um, there. Why is my ring? Sorry, y'all. My ring is on my other hands. And this is a little cute piece of like pink jewelry, and I want it on this hand, and I haven't even seen it. It's like I got this little cute little pink heart ring. Got to bring some love energy in this video. So, you know, yeah, the Venus energy for me feels kind of slow and smooth. It doesn't feel as aggressive as Mercury, at least not for me. And so, because it's more smooth and slow, I feel like it gives people more time to really reconsider and to rest upon what they're trying to do, and then be proactive. But it is an incredible energy to get things done because the Venus energy is so smooth, is so loving, uh, is so thought provoking, and dare so should I say nurturing, that it helps you make decisions that maybe before you would not make. So I don't have any of that, at least with a Venus retrograde. This Venus retrograde, I don't know about any other time in life, but at least for this year, for this moment, I don't have that fear with the Mercury of, oh my God, don't do this, don't do that. Like, a lot of those things, purchases and stuff, all those type of things I've done before the Venus retrograde. I didn't even know about it. I just did it beforehand. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I can't really speak to that. But what I will say is that it's just a great time to, if you can, get more rest, sleep more if you can, because yeah, the sleep schedule for most people that I've been seeing, and even for myself, the sleep schedule is a little wonky. So yeah, it kind of does force you to listen more to your body, you know what I'm saying? Be more in tune with your body, check up on your body, and like ask yourself, are you okay? Or do you feel like your current routine, or do you feel like current things you're doing in your daily life is helping you be healthier, or is helping you feel happier or more content? Like, you have to, like, it's kind of like a checkup energy, if I could say that. Like the Venus retrograde is like a checkup energy. Like, okay, when it comes to loving yourself, providing for yourself, taking care of yourself, do you think, or do you feel that you're doing a good job? Those are the kind of things that the Venus retrograde has provoked in me. And is there things that you want to work on? So yeah, the Venus, as you can see, you all, as you can see, God, it's so early. Whew. As you can see, um, the Venus retrograde could do so much more for people than just breakups. You know, this energy is wonderful to work with. And you know, it's also good for, ritualistic work, candle work and journaling and scripting. And, I've done more, you know, personal self-improvement magic on myself now more than ever. Where, like I said, pre Venus retrograde, um, I didn't feel that. I didn't really feel led to take back up certain things that I felt like kept me more confident or kept me more grounded is a good word, more grounded. So, like, in true retrograde style, I reverted back to things that helped me feel more grounded, things that kept me more focused. And it's like kind of going back in time and looking at things, maybe some things that you used to do that you think benefited your life better than it is now, and not being like afraid to admit that, like, okay, there could have been, you know certain things like in my routine that, like, this actually what has happened, like there was things I drew inspiration from things in my routine that I did like years ago. So the Venus retrograde energy is an energy where you can look back in time to things that you think were done better or just made your life easier, and then reincorporate, like, retrograde, again, do over, reincorporate that, right? Reincorporate that into your everyday life. So that's kind of like how I've used the energy, is like, okay, I'm going to redo or reincorporate things in my life that I think worked better than things I've changed. So you kind of tweak it to your satisfaction. You know what I'm saying? You have to figure out what areas, or area, could be one major area that you think needs some work. I don't know if this is a typical vice of retrograde, of Venus retrograde, but hey, I think that it's best to work with the energy than against it, and try to find the highs and the positives that, are going to help you feel better about your everyday life and where you're going in life. And so that's kind of like what I'm choosing to do. I'm not choosing to use the energy for things that I think are fleeting anyway, that are superficial, or things I think that are not really important. Like, you kind of just have to figure out how to solve, and then with the energy through research and routine, look at how you can improve this time. Because, see, I don't see it as a roadblock. I think that when we hear the word retrograde, it's very easy to get spooked. It's very easy to freak out and say, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But like I said, for me this time around, I've just looked at it as a very positive thing. I've looked at the Venus retrograde as as an incredibly positive time. More, I think, positive than really any retrograde this year so far for me. And it's just inspired me. And it could be that it's also in the sign of Leo. Not going to take away kudo points from the Leos. It could be that, I'm saying it, depending upon your chart, it could be that, this is just something that you got to find in your chart or in your personality, how you can use different retrogrades to your advantage. So at least for me, it's just been about getting more clarity, on some really like tough life decisions and choices and things I have to consider, about my life, not about no little dinky relationship. Like that's like the least on my list. It's about, like, for me, um, how to set yourself up for success, how to incorporate new beliefs or ideas into your head that are going to benefit you and not harm you. So if you do want to talk about, any kind of relationship, whether platonic or romantic, well, this energy is good for that as well, because now it's an energy of um, analyzing, if a particular bond or connection is working for you. So that's the only reason why, there's so many breakups. And, it's kind of like a generic version of the retrograde. It's like, oh, there's all these breakups. Is because in a new way, people are probably looking over their interpersonal relationships and saying, okay, this, boyfriend of mine or whatever, or spouse or whatever, does not align with me, and so now we're going to part ways. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing. If people are or were in dead-end relationships, and now all of a sudden this Venus retrograde is telling the person to get out of that dead-end relationship where they were unhappy, and they did not have patience with their previous partner, that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing, because, you know, I guess it would have to come down to, what do you see the Venus retrograde as? You know what I'm saying? What do you see relationships for? You know what I'm saying? It could be a new way of looking at what is the benefit of relationships. Like, how do you learn from these relationships in your life? How does it actually help you be a better person, or whatever, you know, however you look at it. So to me, it's positive. If there's kids involved and it's a marriage, it's a little bit different. But if we're just talking about two people who are just dating and we're together and then now they're not together, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. So overall, the Venus retrograde is positive. For those of you who are maybe afraid of the Venus retrograde, my advice is don't be afraid of it. You know what I'm saying? Wear pink, wear reds and pearls, and, really tap into that kind of Venetian energy. You know what I'm saying? Like purples and lavenders and creams, and, find ways to look at it from a positive perspective that's going to bring you more grounding and peace and balance. Um, and yeah, I feel like, weirdly enough, this also could be a good thing for career. I don't know if I mean, obviously, I will watch videos and read articles and books that help myself. So, like I said, I am still learning a lot about the Venetian energy, but I can almost bet that there's somebody out here that can explain the benefits of the Venetian energy to career, or yeah, to job, career, a business. I bet that there's so many resources out here that can explain that it actually helps you and sharpens your ability to figure out, okay, do I have a passion for what I'm doing? Because Venus and love is can also be tied into passion. Yes. I just realized that, yeah, love can be tied into not just care and nurturing, but passion. You gotta have a passion for it. So once again, it's like, it's so positive. Like, this retrograde is so positive. And for those who want, to figure out their career or get a new job, right? This is a good time to, sit and meditate and re-strategize how you want to incorporate more passion into the career or work sector of your life. And of course, you can correlate that to your houses, you can correlate that to your chart. There's so many ways to look at it, but it is positive. So if you haven't heard anybody say this out here, like, it's positive. I think, besides just the sleep, and besides, seeing all these celebrities break up, it's positive. It's a very positive retrograde. And there's so many ways, there's so many ways that you can use this retrograde to your advantage. So I hope that there was just something that you guys could relate to. And there's so many changes, so many positive changes that I've gained in perspective from the Venus retrograde, that it's like I have a whole list, I have a whole list of things that I want to change, and things I want to see for the better, like a change for the better when it's all said and done. When the retrograde comes to a close, I feel like I'm taking more positive than negative. So it's all about intention, even when, Mercury retrogrades come, because I actually think in October, if I'm not mistaken, I actually think in October there is a Mercury retrograde or something like that as well. I'm not sure, but I saw people talking about how there's going to be like 2 retrogrades at once, 2023 in October. I'm gonna have to look more into that, so don't take my word for that. But I saw something like that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, and I kind of bookmarked it. So so you guys in advance can go and do your own research and figure out if that's true. And yeah, if there is gonna be Mercury and Venus or something else also in retrograde at the same time, then yes, wouldn't it be common sense to kind of get your ducks in a row from now than waiting until October, December? Like, and what I also want to say before I close is, you guys hear those birds? Those birds are so loud. Can you guys hear those birds? The mornings. Anyway, so also what this Venus retrograde has inspired me to do is to plan, and maybe it's just like I said, you guys have to do what I'm doing by any means. This is just how it's affecting me, okay? Is like plan in advance for 2024, like not waiting to do certain things at the last minute. I don't know, like that's just another thing that's it's kind of affecting me. It's like just jumping into action and not like not waiting for anything else to happen, kind of just like taking the ball into your own court and dribbling it and shooting it. Like that's kind of how it feels for me. It's like not waiting until, okay, October, or when the next retrograde, or when the next full moon. Like it's just kind of like taking initiative, So, person to person, I think the best way to win, wow, those birds are loud. The best way to win this time around with this retrograde is to take initiative. That's what I've taken from it, is like take initiative, get more sleep, because the energies are quite intense. If you're not really sleeping well, like I was saying on Twitter, and spills, like sometimes you have to force yourself, sometimes you have to force the atmosphere for your body to relax, especially if you're just always busy, you're always working, you always got things to do. You have to like force yourself, you kind of have to force, like I said, the energy, the Venus energy is an energy where it's forcing you to do things, even though it's a slow, smooth, cute energy. For the most part, it's still like, it still forces you to almost like put yourself first. Yeah. Whereas, like I said, in the more generic term, if you want to talk about romantic relationship, it'd be like about couples and a plus one. But like I said, I don't see it that way. The energy doesn't feel that way this time around. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like this energy does not feel like an energy of worrying about somebody else. It's more of an energy of if you're gonna worry, you're gonna worry about yourself. You know, you're not gonna worry about what someone else is doing. This is just a retrograde of like we're, you know, focusing on what you're doing. That's how it feels to me, and maybe it feels that way to you all. You all, um, what are those? Y'all, can y'all hear those birds? I'm sitting next to a long window slash door. I don't know what those birds are doing. If y'all can hear those birds, I don't know what they're talking about, but it is early, and you know, so yeah, with the sleep, people charge them enough, their sleep is not deep enough, then you have to, or their energy levels are weird. Right. That's why I'm saying you have to force yourself to care. You know what I'm saying? Like about you, loving on you. Like you have to force, like this Venus retrograde is forcing people to love themselves more, to care about themselves more. If they didn't care about themselves before this Venus retrograde, by the time it's over, it's gonna force people to care about themselves more, which I think is so brilliant, you know, and so good, because maybe up to this point, for certain people, maybe they didn't care about themselves. Maybe they didn't care about if they're getting good sleep or good quality of sleep. You know, it's things like that. So it could be, I guess it just depends on perspective. If you think it's going to be negative and you think it's not going to help you, you think it's going to make your life worse, then that's what you're putting out in the atmosphere. You see what I'm saying? But if you think that the retrograde is going to help you get on track, like it's helped me get on track and make things more clear and more understandable and more just easier to understand, then that's what you're going to attract. You're going to attract more understanding. You're going to attract more time for yourself to sleep, self-care, you know, D&D, put your phone on D&D and do not disturb. And, you know, it just depends on what's happening in your life, you know, and how you're using the energy to your advantage. So, yeah, I think it's going to encourage people to love themselves more. That's a huge highlight of what I'm seeing is true happiness, true joy. This should be a retrograde that helps you kind of figure out on the meter scale where you're at, you know, like where are you at? Do you feel like you do love yourself, or do you feel like you could love yourself more? And that's also like flavors of Venus energy, you know? So anyway, I think I've given you guys a good perspective, and it was nice to talk to you all and kind of tell you all you know, like some of my experiences, and hopefully you guys can relate, or maybe there's a new perspective to the Venus retrograde through from my lens and my life that maybe will inspire you guys. I don't know. I just hope that people will not be afraid of the Venus retrograde, and instead you'll take this more as something that is positive, that is exciting. Because for me, that's how it's been. It's not been a retrograde of like, you know, I mean, it's just that I just find the Venus energy just a great energy to work with. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna encourage you all to find that in the areas in your life that you need. You know, because there's always an area in our lives that we think needs more love. You know, that needs more attention. So if there is any, you know, and that could be what it is. Like if there's any areas in your life that you feel have been abandoned, then chances are the Venus retrograde is going to put it front and center, big Leo energy, you know, in your face, and, you know, question you. And so to me, I think that's a positive thing, because especially talking about the second half of 2023 going into 2024, you want to have a clear vision. You want to have a clear understanding of what you're doing. You know, you don't want to finish the year and go into next year confused, do you? You want to go into next year confident. You want to finish the year confidently. So we don't have time to be afraid. We don't have time to be afraid of no full moon, no new moon, no Venus retrograde, no Mercury retrograde. We don't have time to be scared about the transits. We don't have time for that. We have to face the music. We have to face the music, you all, and we have to kind of just take it on the chin and see it for what it is. So I think that especially with the Leo energy currently, it should help all of us. If you really haven't seen the benefit of the Venus retrograde yet, then kind of take what I'm saying and chew on it, meditate on what I'm saying, because there is so many ways I feel that I can't even that'd be like over an hour video, and I'm almost coming up on an hour, so I'm gonna end soon because it's that's a long video. But I just feel like there's just endless ways. I just feel like there's so many perspectives and angles that I could see this energy, and how it would benefit a person versus hurt a person. So that's what I'm encouraging y'all to do, is look and study and research ways it can help you, not harm you, okay?